One of the many joys of being a filmmaker is that today's technology makes it easier than ever to get a specific, numerical, comparative analysis of how good at the craft you are. Because if you're trying to succeed in following your dreams, who wouldn't want all the numbers on how many people like your film, like your work as a whole, and especially be able to compare those numbers to filmmakers you both admire and hate, until you kind of start to hate the ones you admire for being more successful than you and kind of start to admire the ones you hate for the same reason?
Just kidding. It blows.
You don't have to be a filmmaker to know what it's like to be exposed to people that appear more successful than you, reflect on your own accomplishments and milestones, and start to feel like you're behind in life. Just from my own observations, I've heard way more people, especially in their 20s, identify being behind in one way or another in life than satisfied with where they are. I decided to lean into this horribly unsettling feeling within myself of being behind by first asking myself the simple question of, what's the opposite of being behind? I'm just gonna call it what it is: success.
Success!
That's what we're all longing for in these feeling behind moments, right? Like success in a career move or income, or buying something cool with your income to show off how successful you are, but also success in finding a romantic partner, success in having a family, success in traveling cool places. Thanks to our glorious modern technology, it's now easier than ever to compare our successes to the successes of others. Side note, I've seen many stories of those who worked their way up from nothing or even poverty to become greatly successful. I've seen many instances where heavily privileged people schmooze and buy their way into success. I'm not here to talk about the conditions under which one becomes successful. I'm here to talk about how the unchecked pursuit of success can turn into a detrimental feeling of being behind in life and how to let that feeling go. So why do we do this? Why do we see these life milestones as a rating for how successful or behind we are? Well, from the perspective of someone who's less than a year away from his 30s, I think a huge part of this is transitioning out of a school mentality. Starting at age 5 and onward, until you've completed your highest level of education, our culture's vision of success can be easily quantifiable and comparable through things like grades, class standings, even just how prestigiously your educational institution is ranked, all through mostly set time constraints, like years, semesters, even just minutes allowed to take a test. Our most important developmental years took place during this time. Of course, we have come to measure our success in the world based on hard and fast numbers, and are often pit against each other as a form of motivation to be our best. But guess what? Starting in our 20s, we are all beginning to go down our own paths. Sure, there are still ways that you can quantify our visions of success, like income or followers on social media, or age in which you do something big like get married or start a company. It's easy to use our previously ingrained worldviews to use those factors as metrics for how successful or far behind in life we are. But long story short, life is just way too complicated and nuanced to judge how our paths are going based on what we see in others. And of course, we rarely see the challenges others have to go through to get to where they are. We rarely see the insecurities of those who are living the lives we wish we were living. For example, another filmmaking example, after graduating college, I was hoping that by this point in my life, I would be in Hollywood. Doing what? I don't know, but that was my vision of success for that time. But now, at the time I'm making this, after everything I've learned through the Hollywood writers and actors strikes, God, I'm glad I'm not in Hollywood. Knowing me and my values, I would be absolutely miserable working for dirt pay or working in terrible conditions, working for greedy, soulless, and abusive executives. It's bizarre. Let's just consider the idea of income as a measure of success. Based on the stories I've now heard from average staff writers, what they make per project, the literal pennies they make from residuals, how often they can find work, and the atrocious cost of living in LA, compared to my comfortable and steady income and decently affordable area I live in, I am more successful than a Hollywood staff writer. With the asterisks of based on what's left of your income with insanely different costs of living and my antiquated definition of success, I am more successful than a Hollywood staff writer.
So this is actually a great time to mention that actually I am currently laid off right now. I had this whole video written and filmed before I got laid off. While a job loss actually fits in pretty well with the intended message in this video, I decided to shelve this video for the time being because not even my own message was resonating with me, so I made a whole separate video entirely. Now that it's been some time, I was finally ready to put this video together. I was editing this segment and it was just so weird hearing me say all this stuff about income and success and all that, and I was like, can a man who now has no income in good consciousness still try and make this point? And then I thought about it deeper and it's like, so what? Like, I unsuccessed myself? Is that what happened? Like, actually, not even me unsuccessing myself. That was someone else giving me the layoff. So, like, what, did I, like, regress in, like, my success point on the success graph, you know, still in the antiquated definition of success? How much is success measured based on what we are personally responsible over versus just the luck that we have in the world? I wasn't even labeling myself as successful outside of the point that I was trying to make, and now it's like, once that income thing has been taken away from me, now I see the former part of my life as successful, but the current part is not. These stupid questions that have come out of my life circumstance all circle back to, and now even strengthen, the original point that I was trying to make in all of this.
It's clear that once we step away from our just baseline insecurities and spend more than 2 minutes actually thinking about the nuances behind being successful or feeling left behind, our original perceptions fall apart pretty quickly. But that doesn't invalidate our very human need to have goals relating to our careers, our relationships, our passions, or just what we want our output in the world to be. Even with comparison taken out of the picture, it's still a very human thing to have goals, see that we're not quite there yet, and to feel kind of a longing to get there and a certain inadequacy that we're not. One time I felt this way was a couple of years into dating Robin. I had this hope that we would be married by a certain point in my life, and she was nowhere near ready for that. Not only she was completing her most intense year of higher education thus far, but she was also one of the few people available to take care of a very sick family member. And I remember telling my therapist, I just feel like we're stuck. I feel like I'm stuck in my relationship. I feel like everything's on pause. I feel like we're not moving forward in the way that I wanted to. But what my therapist said in response to that was probably one of the most important things anyone has ever said to me. She said, "David, this is your relationship. How I respond to her crises and her stressors, what role I play in supporting her through them, how I self-regulate while she's going through these things, and how we come out the other end as a couple is all part of our relationship. And if I truly wanted to spend the rest of my life with her, beyond just attaining this certain goal of being married at a certain time, that a major shift in perspective was necessary." And in summary, it was a pretty happy ending. Yeah, I think this perspective can be applied to all walks of life, because unless you're dead, you're never not living your life. You're always just gonna have some areas of life that are fulfilled and some areas that are yet to be fulfilled. And yeah, you know what? I'm ditching the word success for fulfillment. For me, maybe I'm not all the way fulfilled in my career right now, but I can say that I am very fulfilled in my relationships, more fulfilled than I've ever been in my entire life. And I also know so many people who are killing it in their careers right now, or on their educational path towards their dream careers, who have yet to be fulfilled in terms of their relationships or starting a family. I'm sure there are plenty of people who are really fulfilled in their careers and families right now and are ready to start looking for a greater sense of self, like what brings them joy outside of work, outside of their families, what hobbies do they want to pursue, stuff like that. I'm sure there are people who don't fit our culture's glammed up vision of successful, or who didn't start a family or settle down necessarily, but have greater and more fulfilling senses of self than I might ever know. All this considered, what I've stopped doing is measuring my life as a whole based on its smaller components. Like if I want to advance my career somehow, I'm taking action on that and finding fulfillment in smaller intentions. Like telling myself, I want to learn this skill or take on this kind of a project because it fulfills the part of me that loves filmmaking, rather than I need to do these things in order to advance my career so I can finally feel ahead in life. And if life doesn't allow me to follow through on those intentions, or at least not in this very moment, why should I let that make me feel like I'm behind or unsuccessful in life as a whole? In the end, it's all just life. It's not stuck, it's not on pause, it's not behind. Our measure of whether or not we're living it to the fullest cannot be quantified, analyzed, or compared. Our definition of success needs to be re-examined by all of us from within ourselves, and not just given to us by those who can hold the bar the highest. And for all I care, considering ourselves behind in life is a mindset that deserves to be left behind. Or maybe you are just behind, you talentless, lazy piece of shit. You know what? Do this for me. Take out your phone, go to the calendar app, scroll ahead 5, 10, 20 years or something. Put in a reminder that says DM Dave, the unsuccessful YouTuber, and update him on how successful you are in life right now. If you can do that and prove that an all-encompassing feeling of success can be achieved in a limited time span, then I guess all these perspectives were complete and total bullshit. If the thought of doing that for you physically pains you like it does for me, then I think you're on the right track. Please don't do anything I said. That was just a thought experiment. Goodbye.